Mediterranean.
And in his words, the mission style, he liked it, but it was a bit too rude and crude. He wanted something more graceful, and that's where the sort of Mediterranean revival style that ended up there came from. So you still have the Mexican-Spanish style of it, but it's more graceful, sort of.
He specifically mentioned in San Diego at Balboa Park, those buildings. Right. He liked those very much, and mentioned those to Julia Morgan in correspondence, that he wanted similarities.
I had, in one of the advisories I got here, and I didn't know this, but the comment was made here that, where is it I want? Oh, it's the second largest historic house museum in the nation. What's the first? Just out of curiosity.
Biltmore.
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
And it's bigger by far. It's enormous.
I was mentioning to you before the show the first time I had ever taken any of the tours, and I don't recall which one it was, but they took us right from the bus inside one of the guest houses, and I thought it was the main house. Yeah, and I'm looking and going, oh wow, that's
the smallest guest house.
And then they took us out the front, and I went, whoa.
The smallest guest house. The exterior measurements are about 3,000 square feet, but then again, the walls are pretty thick too. Some of the walls in those structures are a foot to 2 feet thick.
He wasn't interested in building up there. I mean, it was certainly built to show off his art collection, but he would also write in letters to the architect, we want comfort over beauty. So he wanted it to be a comfortable place. That's why mixed in with all the antique furnitures, you also find the Barker Brothers and the Sloan's Department Store overstuffed furniture. It was very fine, modern furniture at the time, mixed in with the antique things, because he did not want it to be a mausoleum. He wanted it to be a comfortable home, which is, remarkable to us. Yeah, a comfortable home, please. But in his, in the world he was born into, that house wasn't so unusual.
I could live there. It's comfortable to me.
We'd like to invite you for the evening, but
yes.
It doesn't work that way. I wanted to ask you that, but I'll wait till we get back, because we do have to take a break. We're talking with Mova Verde and Deborah Clay about Hearst Castle and their 40th anniversary. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to give us a call, 238-5775, 238-KPRL, and we'll be right back.
Will be a good of when.
I think you got one.
We are talking with Deborah Clay and Mova Verde. They're with, California Parks, I guess, is what you are technically actually with, but stationed, as it were, with their new uniforms at the Hearst Castle. They have new uniforms.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Informal.
Hardly wrinkled.
Does anybody actually ever get to stay there?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Just flat out?
Nope.
Well, State Parks is really into the angle of preserving it as a historical home, and so you can understand why they would be hesitant about letting people sit on the furniture, sleep in the beds.
So there's no area, but how about the pools? Anybody ever get to utilize those for anything?
We used to have an employee party, but we don't do that anymore. Again, preservation and probably liability too, so, no, nobody swims in the pools anymore either.
Then how is all of this, and I can understand that was probably a dumb question, but I just thought I'd ask. I can dream.
That's okay. We'll answer anything. Go ahead.
What is the system in terms of keeping everything the way it is? When you go in there, you can't use flash bulbs, and you've got the curtains drawn. What kind of an operation is that?
Well, as far as preserving everything, the credit goes to our curatorial staff, headed up by Chief Curator Hoyt Fields, and they're the ones who basically take care of everything. Obviously, we have to have some art conservation done off-site. I mean, major art pieces that have to be conserved, usually we contract out and they go off-site, but on-site is done by the collection staff, who also just did the renovation of the new William Randolph Hearst exhibit down in the visitor center, and it's really nicely done, and they did a great job. And as far as cooperation from the public, we are extremely lucky. Every guide tells you, we pride ourselves on our tours that are not scripted, but the one scripted part of them is giving the rules, and the guide will ask you on every tour, please do not chew gum, and people do stick gum on furniture, but luckily rarely. Please do not touch anything while you're here except handrails on the stairs. Please do not use the flash on your camera because it's very detrimental to the art collection. The dyes and the fabrics and all those kinds of things dry out from flies. It's just like putting sunlight on them. So we have remarkable cooperation from our visitors, and if somebody does break a rule, we ask them not to, and if it gets that, if we have a really incorrigible visitor, which is rare, we have rangers. We're a state park. We have rangers who are peace officers. We have a security staff who comes and deals with that problem. But we have very few. We're very fortunate.
Most of the visitors always remark how clean everything is, how well groomed the gardens are, and, the one question I've heard a lot is, how is that marble so white? And part of it is people aren't touching it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And we manage all this using very little barriers. You don't find stanchions all over Hearst Castle. You don't find plexiglass barring everything.
We try to show it as a man's home.
We do put tour mats down, and in the rooms we ask you to stay on those tour mats. And people are very respectful, and they do it. And it's nice because we are able to show Hearst Castle almost as exactly as it would have looked if you'd have come as a guest.
Now, are there particular portions of the castle or particular tours that people tend to be more interested in?
Depends on their own interest. I think Tour 1 is a good overall introductory tour, and you get to see what I would call the fabulous social rooms like the assembly room and the dining room. But then other visitors might be interested in books and libraries or Hearst's personal life, and then Tour 2 might come into play. And as you know, that there's an evening tour. There's Tour 3 that shows the North Wing. And then there's there's school tours.
We do school tours for school groups that concentrate on our world history and ancient artworks. And then, with the horrendous El Nino this year, the one thing it has done is we have incredible gardens this year because of all the moisture. So we have Tour 4 that only runs April through October. And that you spend actually most of your time up there outside in the gardens. The only time you go inside is to see one of the biggest guest house, which Hearst loved, referred to as his little house. It's 5,000 or 6,000 square feet. It's enormous.
Has the best view.
It has the best view of any place up there, and it's incredible. So depending on your interest. But Tour 1, usually your first time, you probably want to take Tour 1. It's quite general.
The other tours, though, have smaller groups of people.
Right.
Some people feel more comfortable with that. And Tour 2 and Tour 3 also have a lot of stairs. So if you don't like the idea of climbing a couple of hundred stairs, that might not suit you.
And we do have a wheelchair accessible tour as well that's comparable to a Tour 1. So if you are confined to a wheelchair, or if you can walk but you can't do stairs, we can accommodate you on the physically challenged tour.
I like Tour 2. As I recall, it's been a while that I...
Oh, the libraries are fabulous.
Yeah, the library is just, pretty amazing. You have all sorts of things going on here in terms of the actual celebration going on. Give us some idea, if you will, what's happening.
Well, last week was our official opening, and June 1st we reopened the exhibit, and there was also a drawing for Hearst Castle Collections Reproductions.
Which are gorgeous. Some gorgeous
furniture,
things were...
fabrics, things that have been reproduced from the original collection. And people won these items, and there will be another opportunity. In fact, there's 2 boxes in the visitor center, and you can fill out a little ticket and drop it in the box. And at the end of our celebration in July, on July 10th, there'll be more drawings for more furniture.
And it's really nice things, beautiful reproduction pieces.
These are full-size pieces?
Oh, yes.
Well, the furnishings are things like the chair reproductions and things like that. Other things, like some of the statuary, it's reduced, smaller reproductions from the original size. I mean, some of that stuff would be so huge. But, so some of it is reduced in size, but beautiful things. And there's 5 or 6 things that'll be drawn for on July 10th. And you can go, put your ticket in anytime during the 40th celebrations.
And are there ongoing activities? Or
Yes. In fact, we'll start a little bit what happened last week. We had a rededication ceremony and the 50s exhibit. Our theme for the 40th anniversary is late 50s, and a lot of what we have planned as far as music and entertainment and activities revolves around 50s lifestyle. Besides the exhibit, right after school's out, there'll be a hula hoop contest, and that will also have a Hawaiian theme. And then there will be Yo-Yo. We have the Wizard of Yo.
The Wizard of Yo is coming. Yes, he is. He's a world-class competitor in yo-yos. And, you know, this is also the 40th anniversary of the hula hoop. So this is very timely. So we're having hula hoop contests. And the yo-yos are huge right now. We didn't really know that when we started all this planning. Duncan can't keep yo-yos in the stores right now. So these things, I think, are going to be really popular and very fun. And we've got a lot of great musical and dance performances coming up on the weekends. And on the 13th, coming up very soon, we have a classic car show. And on the 14th, this great group from San Francisco called the Boppers, the original Boppers. And they do 50s dance demonstrations. They're great with kids. They do locomotion trains. I think it's really going to be fun.
They try to get people involved and teach them to dance, so it's a lot of audience participation.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there anything that's like going on day to day, or are these special particular events?
As I mentioned earlier, today we have the gardeners at Hearst Castle are giving away hollyhocks because it was Mr. Hearst's favorite flower. Tomorrow, I know that we're having a wine glass giveaway, and these giveaways are random. And then there's refreshments served. In fact, we've been very fortunate that the local communities have been very, very supportive. For instance, on Friday, Lynn's will be serving refreshments. On Monday, it was a Cookie Crock, our local grocery store in Cambria.
So we've had incredible...
Madonna Inn supplied some wonderful refreshments on when we opened the exhibit. And then there's other music. Reed Walsh's 50s band, which is more rock and roll. He'll be playing like old Elvis and Buddy Holly. He's on the 20th. And then we have a real sock hop on the 27th.
So you've pretty much got things going on every day.
Almost every
almost
day.
every day.
Almost
That's
every
for
day.
what, 40 days from
40 days.
40 days.
June 1st to July 10th.
And 40 nights on the weekend, right?
It was almost a little too biblical, the whole 40 days thing. We were a little scared about that, but it seems to be working out okay.
If anybody would like to know specifically on any of the days what's
We do
happening.
have a calendar of events, and they are available at the local chambers of commerce. We did also send them out to some of the libraries and schools. Some of the schools
Right,
receive
and they
them
can
also.
call us to get one too at Hearst Castle Information Office, 927-2093.
2093.
Right.
927-2093. And that puts us about out of time. So, Deborah Clay and Mova Verity, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure. Thank
We
you.
appreciate it, and we'll see you up there.
I hope so. Come up. It's going to be fun.
Okay. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ron Fisher.